Gosh, that was fun. That was not a bad time. Yeah. Okay. It's really windy. And we have new kayak. And yes, you are seeing this right. I actually have 3 kayaks in my garage right now. The brand new one we're gonna talk about and fish out of in this video. I've got the standard Bonafide RVR, my river kayak, and my Native Titan X, my big hunk of plastic. And the kayak Native has sent me here, I kind of hope to be some happy medium between these two. It's still light, but still sturdy, not huge hunk of plastic. I mean, my Titan X weighs like 130 pounds, and my RVR doesn't have pedal drive. So what does this kayak fit into? It fits right in the middle, and that is the new Slayer LTE Propel. Or Propel LTE, I don't care about names. Now the agenda for this video is threefold. First thing, I'm gonna show y'all all the upgrades I'm doing to each one of these kayaks to make them even better bass catching machines, because the gear doesn't always make you a better fisherman, but it does make the process of fishing actually easier, and I have some cool ones for each one of these kayaks, especially my Titan X. Second, I wanna talk about my kayak rod and reels and what changes I've made for those going into this year. And third, I'm gonna take the LTE out to a local pond and hopefully have some good fish catching action, but if that doesn't happen, at least we're gonna show you guys why I think this kayak may become my next, I guess you could call it, daily driver. But if you are in need of a kayak life jacket, or for your bass boat or john boat, whatever, everybody needs to be wearing a life jacket, and Bluestorm makes some of the best ones out there. I've been working with them as a company for 3 years now. They have both Coast Guard approved auto inflate PFDs, as well as just regular foam life jackets for your kids, for your dog, for yourself. And code TRF35, yes, 35, saves you 35% on your entire order, which is crazy. That's like the highest amount you could probably give to still keep profitability. They actually offered me 10% commission on my sales, and I said, forget that. I don't need the cash. I want to pass that 10% on to you guys. So again, code TRF35. I've got the Stratus 35 here in the Cryptek camo, and the Atmos 40 just got sent to me. They're both great life jackets. Atmos a little bit bulkier, but either way, you fall in the water, they auto inflate, super easy. Thanks to Bluestorm for sponsoring this channel. Check it out, linked below. Let's get to building. Well, we were filming a speed lapse, but now the boy's here. Oh, it's bright. Ooh, this is my son. You're not my dad. No, I am his dad. I think this might be Brooks's video debut on the TRF channel. So welcome everybody. It's my son. Oh, Savannah. He will be 14 months old 2 days before this video drops. He's a happy boy. It's a pleasure to be his father, but daddy's got to get back to work, Bubba. You want more kayaks? Yeah, more kayaks. The throne is ready. You want to sit in the nice, comfy Titan X chair? Yeah. Let's get this kid a pole. Would you like to fish? We're learning, folks. He's not even 1.5. I think he's done. Look at that. It's got water in it. Here, we'll trade. There you go. That's yours. Oh, you don't want this one? You want this one? Yeah, okay, all right. He knows lose is the stuff. All right, buddy, snack time. Well, that was fun. Hopefully y'all enjoyed meeting my son. But we have some boxes to open, with the first one being from our friends over at Dugout Bait and Tackle. And this one here is honestly such a boring product, I feel like I shouldn't even talk about it. And it is a steering triangle. So this thing goes on my Newport engine on the RVR kayak. Again, my only kayak with a trolling motor is my river one, because I want to make sure I can get way up and down rivers filming y'all some videos. And the triangle you'll see on the screen here is the piece that goes vertically and horizontally that the pulley system attaches to make the trolling motor go left and right. And the one that comes on, the NK180 Pro, I just don't feel like is very strong. And so I saw Alex Rudd talk about this thing right here. It's made out of CNC aluminum, super durable and thick, and definitely helps with bending it, because I think on my first trip I already bent my my original steering triangle. So that's boring, but is useful. And the next box is made by Wizard FCS, whatever that means. Oh, it says right there, foot controlled steering. Usually acronyms mean something. And this one also goes on my RVR, and it's basically an upgrade to the foot controlled steering that I have on there. I just feel like what I got right now is not easy when I'm sitting to push left and right. It's like I really gotta push hard with my right foot, boom, and the kayak moves too far. So the Wizard is a whole new system. I actually take here, I'll show you. I uninstalled the original track that sits right here on the RVR, and I put this one in its place. And as you can see by just having it in my hand, it slides way easier. It remains to be seen if I'm actually gonna enjoy the feel of a big old knob right in like the center of my foot as I push left and right. But I do like how smooth this is, and everybody that's used it seems to love it. So again, I'm not gonna install these two. I'll just show you pictures of what they look like installed. The next time you see me in the RVR though, these two things will be on there. And I'm gonna move the camera angle back for this one because we have a few bigger boxes, first of which coming from Garmin. Not sponsored, I wish it was, but you know. And you know, electronics don't really have big margins. And in this big box here, we have a brand new Garmin unit, the EchoMap Ultra 2 106SV, a 10-inch unit, with the old-fashioned scope black box and the LVS 34 transducer. Well, if your question is, Tyler, why do you need a new live scope system on your kayak? It's just a kayak anyways. I'm gonna say, you know what, you're probably right. But if I'm gonna have forward-facing sonar on my kayak, for right now being my native Titan X 10.5, I at least want the clarity to be better than it is right now. This is kind of an old live scope setup. It definitely gets by. I can see grass lines, I can see brush piles, and yes, I can still see suspended fish. But if I'm gonna be doing that, I want the best gear for it, so that's why we have the brand new units here. And the good thing for you guys as the content viewers is that this unit here can actually connect to the Garmin Active Captain app, and I can have screen recordings of what my live scope is seeing. So now, not just in the bass boat, but as long as I can do it effectively, I'm gonna try to get screen recordings of what my kayak live scope is seeing. So that means this screen right here, 93SV, and the LVS 32 transducer along with the black box are going to be out, not using them anymore. And if you wanna buy them, just send me an email, trfexec@gmail.com, with your best offer. I mean, this is a really good beginner live scope setup, especially for a kayak. The screen's definitely big enough and the transducer works just fine. I don't believe you can even buy that graph anymore or that transducer unless they're refurbished. So if you want a good deal, I'm looking for somewhere around $1,000. You probably can't get into live scoping for any cheaper than that. So I expect this to go fast. Shoot me an email. And you're also not gonna see me install these two today because that's not the goal of today's video. The goal is to put stuff on the LTE and go fishing with it. So let's get the LTE up on the surgical table. Okay, first things first. Time to release. Sidekick wheel system. And a wheel system is so necessary on any kayak. I don't care, native, Bonafide, whatever. You gotta be able to wheel this thing from your vehicle to the body of water, because it is rarely the case that you can actually dump your kayak right into the lake. And usually if you're at a lake like that, it's probably public, a little bit tougher to catch fish anyway. So I wanna find the old sneak holes where I gotta trek back in the woods half a mile. And on the Slayer, it looks like they've given me a nice spot in front of the pre-built rod holders right there and right there behind the seat to put the bracket. Wheel. Wheel 2. Okay, sidekick done. Now let's put the drive system together. There's like almost no work that needs to be done. Wow. All I've got to do is put the pipes on the bracket up front and find the pedals. Where'd they go? Ah, here we go. Here's the effort. I'm a child. Although even this part just takes like 2 screws putting in. That one down, which means this one's got to be up. Nah, that's backwards. Yeah, that one up, so this one's down. And 2 big pre-built little screws here. And that is snug as a bug in a rug. And here is the standard Slayer seat. I do have the swivel seat upgrade that Native has asked me not to put on yet because we actually have a shoot on this thing before the Bassmaster Classic starts. They're gonna make some kind of cool sizzle highlight, commercial. And they wanna show this thing as base model as possible, but I do have the old swivel that will make this even taller and a little easier to access the black pack, which will go back here. It's on the Titan right now. And I mentioned earlier, the last thing I wanna talk about before we head on the water is which kayak combos I'm going with this year. So in the year and a half now that I've really been hardcore kayak fishing, I'd say once to twice a week, I just noticed that I don't like having longer than like a 7'1" rod. And it's not always that the length of the rod is the problem when I'm sitting down and fishing. Oftentimes a longer rod is also accompanied by a longer butt section. And I still notice that even on a shorter rod, I still got a pretty good hook set. And so I've kind of made the decision, I'm gonna go relatively shorter on all my combos in the kayak as compared to the bass boat for sure, but even sometimes the bank. And also in the kayak, you can get yourself to locations that normally I would have to make longer casts to from the boat and for sure from the bank. And so that's where having a longer rod for both the casting distance and the hook set power and strength comes in handy. But in the kayak, I can catch fish relatively close to my watercraft. So again, all pluses for shorter rods. So my first bait caster I'm gonna be using is my longest one, and that is my 7'1" Lew's custom speed stick with the Tournament Pro reel, my favorite Froggin swim jig nasty cover style reel. I've got 50-pound braid on here, the Seaguar Tactics braid, and 7'1" heavy is a good jig, swim bait, topwater frog, buzz bait, 5 to 6 inch swim bait, and maybe even 6 to 7 inch glide bait, kind of a max. That's where this rod is good for. I'm gonna be using it a whole lot here, especially as the weather warms up. The next two are Lew's LFS combos, my new favorite rod that Lew's has made, and I've got both of these underneath 7 foot. So this here is the 610 medium heavy. It's gonna be used for reaction baits, especially good target roll casting. One of the big reasons why I'm going with a 610 for my reaction bait rods is because I make a whole lot of small roll casts, and even standing up in the kayak, I'm not as high up off the water as I am in the bass boat, and I just found myself catching the water a ton on my downward side of the roll cast, and a 610 rod is good, at least to not do that as much. So I've got a 7.5-to-1 Lew's Custom, brand new reel, probably my favorite reel Lew's makes right now, especially for the price point, and 17-pound InvizX fluorocarbon. I could also throw Texas rigs and underspins, all kind of stuff on that combo. And then my small reaction bait rod, so square bill crankbaits, shallow diving cranks, 3/8 ounce vibrating jigs, small spinner baits, and of course the skunk buster, the weightless soft plastics, especially the weightless caffeine shad. I've got the LFS 7-foot medium with the exact same reel, 7.5-to-1 gear ratio, but this time it's 14-pound Seaguar R18 fluorocarbon. I would throw 15 if it was InvizX. And this thing being a medium power is definitely perfect for all my weightless stuff. And again, I can throw maybe just barely weighted Texas rigs, and like I said, your kind of standard smaller reaction stuff, maybe poppers even. And then the spinning rod that I have absolutely loved for bank fishing and kayaks is the Signature series by Lew's. It is a 610 medium, extra fast, with what I believe to be the only spinning reel any freshwater angler ever needs again, and that is the Lew's Custom Light Shallow Spool. This spool only holds maybe 75 yards of line, which you're not getting spooled on a bass. The drag system's super smooth, and I've got, I think, 15-pound braid on here to a 12-pound fluorocarbon leader. This thing is gonna get a workout for a wacky rig here over the next 2 months. So those are my 4 main rod combos, especially when it gets to colder fall, winter time. I'm gonna get a LFS 6/8 medium, my jerkbait rod, and I'm sure I'm gonna add a few here and there. But if you wanna see me throw a swim bait, I'm probably not, or at least a big one, I'm probably not gonna do it in the kayak because it's just hard to get a good hook set. I'm gonna try tomorrow to complete a scaled up video, but I'm just gonna try to keep my my kayak combos relatively simple and relatively short, at least trying it out this year. So that's enough talking, folks. Let's get the LTE off the surgical table onto the trailer, and we'll see you guys for the maiden voyage tomorrow on the lake. So as we slide the LTE off the trailer, I can't help but think how much lighter this is than my Titan X. Again, if you're fishing a big body of water and you have your trailer with you all the time, you can back down the ramp. A kayak that heavy is useful, but man, for this kind of body of water, it is nice to be light. Forgot my rods. I'm gonna be honest though, I gotta poop. If safety ain't first, it's last. Woo, chilly willy. Although that's not true, it's not chilly really. Feels like the pre-spawn to me. Pedal drive down, and we're off to see the wizard. I'm realizing though that we oriented the the handle over here wrong. So if I turn right and paddle, I go left. Definitely not ideal, but it works today. I'll fix that later. And I definitely want to get myself as high off the water as possible. I'm not liking how low this seat is, but I'm just used to my Titan X. Even the cushion's better. It's definitely more tippy than the Titan X is, but doesn't feel like horribly unstable. It's honestly much easier to paddle, a lot more maneuverable. I can turn on a dime, unlike that one. It's got a lot more drift to it. It doesn't really stay in the same spot. So kind of pros and cons of maneuverability as you get more drift. But now it's time to get into the fishing. You can see here, I got a popping pad perch. And you might think, Tyler, it's not even like summer yet. What are you doing? Well, I can't help myself because we had a crazy warm day yesterday with a bunch of warm winds. If there are any fish spawning up around these cattails here on the edge, I'd like to catch them on a frog. With the water as cold as it is, still a low percentage thing, probably more an afternoon bite. But if there's one on a bed, he hasn't seen a frog, I guarantee it. Man, there's one. There's one. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes! First frog bass of the year. I knew there would be one. I knew there would be one. Get your face in here. Yeah, that was fun. You are not going to hear me complain about that. Pop and pad perch, roof of the mouth. Classic spawn time, pre-spawn frog bite. Hardly a bite at all, just a little slurp. And we got him. And I got to get an Instagram story of my first frog fish. Thank you, buddy. Well, that was a heck of a lot of fun. At this point, I see no need to tie anything else on. Oh my goodness. That is what I like to see. Now, the reasons why I knew picking up a frog might be a good thing are twofold. One, the conditions. We are at the very end of the pre-spawn. Matter of fact, some fish may be spawning. It was a full moon yesterday. Along with that, the crazy warm temperatures and warm wind that stirred up the entire ecosystem is beneficial. Gets all that cold water underneath, brings it up top, kind of brings up the whole water temperature of the entire body of water. Oh, there was one. Oh, they're up here. Not explosive hits, just little slurps. And these cattails, now it's not always gonna be the case, but usually they'll have a steeper edge to them. So pre-spawn fish will be sitting on them, and spawning fish, and post-spawn fry garters. So that's why I like cattails for a frog, really for the majority of the spring. All fish pads, all fish grass, but I love me a deep reed edge, holy cow. And the nice, healthy males are up shallow. This is fun, this is fun. This is not a bad time. And I'm not gonna lie, the stability on this thing is honestly pretty nice. I mean, a frog hook set is pretty violent and I don't feel unstable at all. Thank you, my friend, for giving me fun time. I'm also fishing this bank first because the wind came from the southwest and this bank here was protected all day yesterday. So I'm not saying along that bank I can't catch one on a frog. I just think it's higher percentage here because these fish were not messed with by the wind all day yesterday. But they are chewing, folks. Sometimes your biggest bass on topwater of the entire year are the ones that, oop, there was one, that seem too early. Where it's like, topwater's probably not good right now. 8-pounder on a frog. That was cool. That was cool. I gave that fish a follow-up and I got him. Yeah, we got a bunch of males moving up. Tyler, get better at leaving more line out when you land a fish. Thank you. Froggy time, and I'm loving this kayak. This is fun. I'm not loving how the rudder is rigged backwards, but we're making it work. During this time of the year, it's best to not be crazy aggressive with your retrieve. Just little walk side to side, pop, 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 pop. I will let it sit longer during the pre-spawn and spawn than I will pretty much the rest of the year. And no bites on what's obviously a shallower edge. On the thick reeds where it's a steeper drop, as I could have guessed, that's where the fish were. One would have to be like full-blown spawning to be up in this stuff right here. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Goodness. I mean, like I could predict it. Right where a thick reed edge begins, a fish was sitting. Goodness. Goodness gracious. Absolute chunk face. Frog down the hatch. Wow, look at this guy. He's missing half his tail. Kind of odd that it's the top half though. Maybe he was hanging out upside down and the snapping turtle got to him. All right, we're having fun. But I hope y'all could understand what I was saying there by this location versus that one. Right where the thicker reeds start, I think the bank drops off a little bit more and a fish was sitting right there. So we're gonna catch one right off this clump, I feel. Okay, well, maybe not. Just because you prophesy does not make you a prophet. Sploosh. That's the noise that I envision my frog making. It's just farting around. As it's walking, it's just... Whoosh. Yeah, dang. Okay. What a funky hook set that was. I had to lean into my seat and stand on the pedal drive, but it worked. Another 2.5-pound chunky male. I'm loving this, man. I'm glad I kept that pressure on that fish because yeah, my hook set was no good. He was hardly hooked. We're just farting around. Now to pass the test and become my daily driver, I've got to see what the stand-up capabilities feel like. Because if I can't stand up and sit down relatively easily, it's not the kayak for a bass boat guy like me. Gosh, dang, son. That's the biggest one yet. That's the biggest one yet. Gosh. All right, well, our hook set towers while standing don't seem to be all that effective. That was kind of an upwards left hook set, but man, oh man, I'm having fun. I've just got to think if there's this many healthy males up shallow, the females are probably where my kayak is sitting, to be honest. Gosh, that was fun. That was fun. That was not a bad time. Yeah. Okay. All right, Mr. Cookie Cutter Fish. Hey, a little bit bigger. I'd say that one goes 3 pounds. Thank you, my friend, for giving me hope for the year. The economy may be down, but my fishing excitement is up. And I feel like that's probably enough fish on the frog. I can keep catching them on it, but I want to save some fish that could potentially eat my big swim bait. So I'm going to do a little stability test here, and then we'll call it quits. I want to really rock this thing, see if I can dunk any water underneath the edge. Okay, I can. I mean, that's hard though to do. I'd have to really be going for it. And it's probably not smart to try to get up on the front. I want to see like what's the stability if I've got to get a lure unstuck. That's pretty good. I'm not going to go 2 feet on the front, you know, hang 10 on it. And then if I got to really turn around to get back to my tackle area, what's the stability here? Oh, pretty good. How about if I got to put my micro anchor on the power pole in the actual anchor itself? Oh yeah, we're stable. I'm not going to lie to y'all. This may be my new daily driver. Well, folks, I think I'm ready to say it. This is my new favorite kayak. If I've got to combine the 3 S's of speed, stability, and steering, this kayak fits the bill. And I'm not just saying that because I work with the company. This thing is lights out. Now, will it replace my Titan X? Probably not. I'm gonna keep that kayak for big bodies of water, maybe even put a trolling motor on that, and especially when it comes to like live scoping, needing electronics and mapping, I'm gonna have that kayak. And while I'm not gonna rule out putting electronics on this kayak, I just don't really think it needs it, especially for small bodies of water like this, and I'm sure you guys would appreciate that as well. As always, the tackle I use in my videos is linked down in the video description. If you could shop using those links, it would mean a whole lot. Thanks to Bluestorm for sponsoring this channel. Again, code TRF35 saves you a whopping 35% on your order. That's crazy. If you're into kayak fishing and you want to see my last crazy kayak river video catching big smallmouth on topwater, whammy, it'll be up here in this corner. In my entire uncut series on the new channel, Uncut Bass Fishing, whammy, over on this corner, you're going to see tons of kayak footage over there. My name's Tyler. As always, it's a pleasure, and we'll see y'all next time right here on TRF.